Crusaders show. I'm Patti Reiss and Jessica Endiicott here, and we are so happy to be with you today. And we just want to remind you that we are the Crusaders. We are here to empower you, inspire you, and offer solutions. So, welcome to a happy, healthy new year. We're excited. This is our first time with Jess and I together. So
Woohoo!
we're going to flow back and forth as
Party!
we hopefully share inspiration for you all on this new year and bring in some tips that we think were important to share. So I'm excited to talk a little bit, start off with mindfulness. And when we decided to do these three top tips, so we have mindfulness, food, and sleep. And when I said mindfulness, I always think of meditation right away, but it isn't just that. Meditation is one part of it. So I'm going to pick Jessica's brain a little bit on this one, since she's the trained mindfulness teacher. And Jessica, can you explain a little bit your thoughts around mindfulness?
Yeah, so mindfulness is not just a practice that we can use when we're doing meditation. It is to be used throughout all of our life in every area. And mindfulness is bringing the subconscious and the unconscious into the consciousness so that we can have awareness. Because as long as it is residing in the unconscious or the subconsciousness, we can't make those shifts. Right? So we have our habits, we have our patterns, we're going about our daily life just based upon our programming. And we can't shift our programming, we can't shift out of those habits or those patterns until we bring awareness to them. And so mindfulness can be used in all of the areas of our life, whether we're doing dishes, whether we're talking with somebody, whether we're trying to work through hard things with a relationship or a conversation, and into just the quietness and the meditation space as well.
I like that. Would you also say that mindfulness, and one of the things that mindfulness brings up for me is just presence, like being in the now, just bringing yourself back to like, okay, what's happening right here, right now, instead of like jutting off in different directions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have 70,000 thoughts a day, and for every one of those thoughts, we have 81 different facets. So we have 81 different ways that we interpret those thoughts.
Whoa.
So it's so easy for us to get lost in those thoughts and run away with them and have stories going on all day long about every encounter that we have.
Oh, I definitely tend to do that.
I know you've had conversations with people before they've even really happened, right?
Yes, I do. I do create stories, and most of the time they never come to fruition. So I try to just step back and go, okay, be present, breathe, and then send light and love to whatever the situation is that's going on, especially when it's a difficult situation. The fun things are easy. Those are like, oh yeah, bring them on. I feel good. It's happening, but the challenges are not so fun. So those are the ones I get to sit with more. Those are the harder ones, I should say, to sit with. Right?
They are the harder ones. So before we go further, though, Patti, I'd like to stop and do a quick check-in.
Okay.
With ourselves, with the audience, with our listeners, because this is a part of the mindfulness, right? Mindfulness is checking in with ourselves and seeing how we're doing. And we're so busy that we don't do this. We forget to check in and see how we're doing. We just go. So let's take a moment. And just take a big inhale and exhale. Let's do another big inhale. And a big exhale. We'll do one more. So when you breathe in, breathing in all the way down into your belly, expanding. And exhaling, releasing, letting go. Just taking a moment and checking in with yourself, noticing how you're feeling, noticing the thoughts, noticing your heartbeat, and just allowing it to be as it is right now in this moment. And then coming back, and we're gonna actually do a longer breath practice towards the end of the show, right, Pati?
Yeah, we are.
So for
you are.
Yeah. So for our listeners out there, get in a place where you can listen and not be driving, and join us.
Thank you for that. It's so interesting how quick you can shift back into that relaxation state. And I know when I was, well, I want to share a little bit, and I don't even know if you know this, Jessica, but I worked at a treatment center. Well, I was in the treatment center, and then when I got out of the treatment center, the director said, "I'd like you to teach meditation at this treatment center." And I was like, "Oh, I don't know how to do that." So I went and actually did a meditation course up at the University of Utah when I was here. And it was really interesting because I thought, well, you just need to get quiet, right? And that's part of it, but there's a lot of active part of meditation. And this whole idea of mindfulness came into it. So I would love for you to explain a little bit about the different because there's active meditation, which is taking a walk, doing the dishes. And I'm saying meditation, but I guess I'm interchanging that as well with mindfulness, just having this awareness, because to me, it's like a meditation. My older brother says, "Oh, I meditate when I'm playing basketball." And I was like, "No, you don't." Well, but maybe he does, right? But that's an active form of getting out of the thoughts because you're involved in an activity, right? You're playing basketball, or you're skiing, or you're walking. So that's active, right? Am I right with that, Jess?
Right.
More of an active. Okay. And then the other is the passive, quiet stillness. I wonder if you could just talk a little bit about those two, because I feel like both are really important. Just bringing mindfulness to, like you said, everything we do. But then I really I had to learn how to meditate, right? Because I couldn't shut it off. And for me, getting quiet and learning how to breathe and and empty out was a practice I had to learn. And I do that now. Sometimes I do it for a few minutes, and sometimes it's a little bit longer. But I wonder if you could just chat with us about that.
Yeah. So the active one is there. You can do this while you're washing the dishes. You can do it while you're brushing your teeth. You can do it as you're walking. And the whole purpose of this is to be present in the moment. So there's a beautiful book called Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. And it talks about how every moment is a new moment. And so we're looking at it through the eyes of a child, right? The beautiful eyes, the curiosity, just being completely present with it, because every moment, this moment right here between you and I, has never happened before. This moment in time and space has never happened before. So even though we've washed the dishes 100 times, or we've had a conversation with somebody before, it's still a brand new moment. It's still brand new dish. Like, it's still brand new food that's on there, right? It's not the same food that has been on there the day before, unless you haven't washed your dishes. But it is coming into that state of having that beginner's mind and having it be a very first experience and being completely present with it. So engaging all of your senses. So as you're out walking, you're gently placing your feet on the ground, and you're feeling the earth beneath you. You're feeling the engagement of your muscles. You're noticing the sounds that are around you. You're taking in the smells. You're feeling the breeze or the sun or the coolness or the rain, whatever it is. And then you're just allowing that to be. Okay, so you're allowing it to be exactly as it is. You're not trying to shift out of that moment. You're being with the moment, in the moment. And then we talked about the silence, right? The silence. So a lot of people think that when you're meditating, you have to shut off your thoughts. And that's a myth. It's not about shutting off your thoughts. It's about learning how to control the thoughts in which you're choosing to interact with. So you get to start to have a choice with your thought process. And you step into this place of the observer. So it's still kind of an active form, right? You're still kind of actively involved in this practice. So you're sitting, you're being still, and within that stillness is where you get to hear the whispers. You get to hear the whispers of your thoughts. You get to hear the whispers of your guides. You get to hear the whispers of your body symptoms. Our body speaks to us through symptoms. And so, this is really important as we progress with our podcast series. We'll talk more about the symptoms of our body and how those are actual things that our body's trying to talk to us about, right? It's trying to talk to us. This is what's going on. But pausing and sitting in silence and sitting in stillness gives us that time to reflect. And it takes away the stimuli, right? We are so stimulated every day in so many different fields, with social media, with our kids, with what's happening in the world, what's happening outside of our own little home. But when we sit in silence, we are allowing there to be space. And when we allow this space to be, there's a lot of growth that happens. There's in music notes, there's a place where you rest. And when you're resting in between those music notes, that's where you actually are hearing the music, because without that, it's just noise, right? There's a beautiful quote and it says, music is the silence between the notes. And that's the same with our life. Like our lives can be beautiful. They are music. They're music. And they can be noisy and they can be chaotic and they can have the heavy metal at times, but then they can also have the beautiful symphony as well. And when we stop and we rest and we have that pause, it's just as important as the go, go, go.
Oh, yes. I thank you for that. And I think it's a great topic, because I feel like we need to give ourselves permission to take rest breaks, to take quiet breaks, to get still. I didn't know that. I mean, I grew up in a big family. It was noisy, it was very noisy. And not till I was much later, not until much later in my life did I realize, well, I need some of that reset quiet time. So that's when everything gets to kind of reset, which we're going to talk about sleep at the end. So we'll hold off on that, because that's an important thing too. But I like to say, take little rest breaks or little reset breaks during the day if you can. And for some people that's laying down. For some people that's just taking 5 minutes to rest. And I know they've brought in meditation and mindfulness into lots of different companies, where they're just like, we're going to just get quiet and we're going to do some breath. And so this is also about stress management, right? So it's about resetting our brain and our parasympathetic nervous system, because that's the one we want to stay in most of the time, folks, right? We want to stay in that rest and digest. And I would even say playing basketball. I don't know about my brother doing that, but anyway, that place where you're like, oh, here I am. Because if you're not in the rest and digest, which is basically the parasympathetic nervous system, you're in the sympathetic nervous system, which is fight or flight, right? And it may not even be like an intense, stressful thing, but it could be that everything's going so busy. So there's a great book called Brain Energy. I'm forgetting the author. It's a pretty new book. And he talks about the overactive brain. And we'll talk about this on another podcast, and the underactive brain. And a lot of us have this, the overactive brain is that busy, right? That you're kind of moving into that sympathetic nervous system. And we want to be able to come back to that rest and digest. And that's not an underactive. That's just that middle place of going, oh, okay. I've got what I like to call kind of peaceful energy.
Yeah.
I have energy, but I'm not like,
Exactly. Well, and
yeah.
that's what we've been trained to do, is live in that sympathetic dominant state.
Yeah.
Everything is fast food, fast-paced lives, go, 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 fill our schedules as busy as we can. And when is the resting happening?
Yeah.
When is that pausing happening?
Mm. Mm.
And yeah.
For sure. I want to talk a little bit before we move on to our next wellness crusader tip, um, about prayer and mantras. So that active part of meditation, there's that passive where you're listening and you're quiet and you're breathing through both. But there's a more of a focus on your breath when you're quiet. So with the more active meditation I'm talking about, um, prayer, prayer, mantras. Can you tap into that a little bit and the power of that?
Mm. So before I began my meditation practice, um, I was actually um, sympathetic dominant. I was living in a fight or flight response because I had a trauma that had happened. And so everybody around me was an enemy, right? It didn't matter if it was my child standing there. Like I was in this heightened state of arousal. And so this is where my meditation journey began. I began doing a meditation practice that was actually doing a mantra. And so sitting in this mantra, they say that it takes 40 days to break a habit, 90 days for it to start to become part of you, 120 days for it to become your essence, and 1,000 days for you to master it. And so I did 1,000 days of the same meditation practice every day. And it was a Kriya. So it wasn't just a meditation practice. I was actively doing something with it. And that's something that I'll share at another day and time, because it's advanced, but there is a mantra in it. And mantras go back thousands and thousands of years, and you're chanting and you're singing these beautiful words and you're saying these beautiful words. And a mantra can just be, I am peace, I am love. Like, it can be that simple. But as you start to go deeper into some of the yogic practices, there's the meaning behind some of these chants are very beautiful and very prayer-like. And correctly, the pronunciation is just as important. And so it's like so Satanama. Satanama is a wonderful, beautiful practice. And the way,
what does that mean?
Where it's touching, so Satanama is life, death, rebirth, and infinity. And where you're touching, when you're speaking it, you're actually touching different points inside of your mouth that are stimulating. So the mantras have a lot of power behind them. They're especially when they're said intentionally. A lot of the times it's really easy, if you're practicing something over and over and over and over again, to get bored with it and to not realize the power of it. So when you're sitting in a meditation, it's important to also go back to that beginner's mind. This is a brand new practice. This is a brand new moment. And being able to tap into the power of that. So we can even do Satanama right now. So Satanama, you can do Sa, Ta, Na, Ma. And so,
can you do it fast, like Satanama? Oh no, just kidding.
Satanama. And as you're doing that, what that's doing, they actually use this for Alzheimer's.
It's a mudra, right? The hand position.
Yep. Well, they're using this mantra and mudras. These are called mudras when you're doing different things with your fingers. But as you're doing this, you're stimulating different points in the brain, and they use this in the Alzheimer's prevention. Help prevent Alzheimer's. They've done a lot of studies on it. So it's stimulating your brain because you're engaging touch, you're engaging the left and the right hemispheres of the brain.
I'm going to do both sides. So I need help.
So we'll do it sa ta
Sa, ta,
ma sa ta ma. So as you're doing that, you're engaging, you're stimulating those points in the roof of your mouth. I can't remember how many meridian points you have. I think it's 84 meridian points in the roof of our mouth.
In the roof of our mouth? Wow. I knew they were all over the body. I didn't know they were that many in the mouth. No wonder we like to taste things.
I think that there's 84 points. I think it is. I could be wrong. Could be.
Okay.
But
we'll need to do it.
Yeah. So, and then as you're touching too, you're also stimulating your brain, and you're singing. And so as you sing, that's also stimulating more parts to light up. It's changing the neuron pathways and the ways that your brain is, all right, there's neuroplasticity. So now you're changing the structure of your brain, which is beautiful.
Love it.
So, and this,
I love it.
So going back to like mindfulness and why we're talking about this first is because it should be the foundation in our lives as we move forward. It's so foundational for understanding mindfulness and what we're doing as we're creating habits and new habits in our life.
Right, exactly. Which, moves us into this whole idea of self-care, right? So part of mindfulness is part of self-care. And this is one of my big pieces in my work and also in my life is, okay, I've got to care for me first, and then I'm going to help you, right? I've got to do my practice and eat my food, and then, well, I'll share food with you too. I'm not just going to eat and not feed you, but that whole idea of like self-care and bringing that mind awareness into like, wow, okay. And the more we're going to move into food in a little bit here, but the more we actually feed our brain, the more we're tuned into what we need. Right. So, and being more mindful about it. So I know that until I got my brain balanced again, it was really challenging for me to do any meditation. I could not sit. I had anxiety. So I was spinning a lot. When I learned about nutrition for the brain, and I actually got sober, I'll be real open about it, because it changed my life along with many other things. I was able to get quiet and actually do that. But part of that is feeding the brain and this awareness that you talked about with mindfulness. So I hope folks like that, are appreciating that, because I think it's great. I want to share, before we move on to food, one mantra that I learned from Qigong. And so I've studied Qigong over the years, and it's a really simple one. It's Hallal. And when I was studying with this teacher here in Salt Lake City, we would do this one movement with it. It would be Hallal, and it was with your back. You did this movement with your back, Hallal, Hallal, Hallal. And her little 6-year-old boy was always in the room with us doing Qigong, and he's just yelling Hallal. So what does Hallal mean? All is well, getting better, so be it. All is well, getting better, so be it. So no matter what's going on. So I'll just share this piece. My friend who taught the Qigong class was in an accident with her child. And that's what they said after, the accident happened, the impact happened. She was in the back. She was in the front. He was in the back. And they just kept going, Hallal, Hallal, Hallal. So she taught him when things got stressful. And boy, that was stressful being in that accident. He just kept saying, Hallal, Hallal, Hallal. And she did as well, too. So these are things we can teach because, again, they're mantras. They're putting it out there into the universe. So there we go.
I love
Hallal.
Such a beautiful term to use, Hallal.
Yeah.
And
Hallal.
Because they'd been practicing it, it was natural for them in that brief, that moment, right? That scary moment, they were able to go into that place.
Yes.
That put them
in the crisis,
sympathetic dominant state. So now this stressful event that was happening, they weren't in that fight or flight response, they were actually calm and collected and chanting and singing that.
Right. Right. And he had no injuries. She did.
Wow.
So, but even still, with her injury, she was able to get that going until they got to the ER.
Yeah.
So that's pretty powerful. So
Oh,
hopefully, go ahead.
oh, no, I was going to say, so we should tell them about the 3 plans for how to recognize their red zones and what the red zones are.
Oh, okay. Why don't you go into that, Jess?
Okay, so
What is the red zone? What
the red
you mean
zone, yeah, the red zones when you're feeling anxious, when you're feeling anxiety,
okay.
when you're feeling stressed,
Okay.
when you're feeling anger, when you're feeling those big emotions, right?
All right.
When you're feeling
Yep.
those big ones, and recognizing that that's happening. So taking a deep breath, recognize that you're in the red zone, and pick a calming tool. The calming tool could be either like touching your ear, rubbing your ear. It could be a tapping thing.
Oh, the tapping, which is a lot for the trauma work too. Yep.
Some people do that. Another good thing, you could rub your hands together. Pick something that's going to calm you down. Most people know what's going to calm them down. Most people have that self-awareness. Another thing, breathe. Take a deep breath, some big belly breath. And that's another thing that we do when we're experiencing something that's hard, a big emotion, or we make a mistake. People self-sabotage. They say harmful things to themselves. Instead of saying something harmful, say something nice to yourself. You're strong.
I'm okay.
You're brave.
Could be simple.
Yep, I'm okay. Yep. You've gotten through hard things before. You're okay. Like, you're strong. Whatever it is. I love you.
Right.
Love you. So here's the plans, right? Recognize your red zone, pick a calming tool, and say something nice to yourself.
Love that. Well, really, yeah, that's wonderful, and I love that they're teaching children that as well too. You mentioned that about your granddaughter. So this is powerful. It's really important to our bodies listen to everything we say. Our cells are very smart. So I say that to a lot of my students and clients. I'm like, okay, if you're talking negatively to yourself or to anyone else, not a good idea. Right. So, and that takes practice too, coming back to actually really learning how to love ourselves on a deep level. And I would say that the more you care for yourself and feed your brain, you're able to do that.
Yeah.
So, should we talk about feeding the brain, Jess?
Yes, let's talk about feeding the brain, Pati.
Okay.
So tell me about what feeding the brain means. Like, what does it actually mean?
Woo! So again, these are our 3 top wellness tips. We did mindfulness, meditation, and now we're doing food. And I want to talk a little bit about personalized food. I got a message from I think it was my sister-in-law about this new documentary series on Netflix about what you eat. You are what you eat, and that's a mantra many of us in the nutrition world have been talking about, of course, for a long time. I mean, basically, we are walking food, right? So don't feel bad about that. We also have an incredible body that regenerates. I mean, we have new stomach cells lining of our stomach every 2 to 3 weeks. That's remarkable, right? I mean, we have new cells coming all the time, and as we start feeding ourselves differently, these cells start give us more energy, help us have more clarity. So one of the mantras, here we go, for the Academy for Addiction and Mental Health Nutrition, which I'm a teacher for, and Jess, you participated in that program, is feed the brain first. And that comes from Christina Veselek, who is one of my, I would say, heroes in the world. She's a psychotherapist, also a nutritionist, and specializes in amino acid therapy, which we'll do another show about. And is feed the brain first. So what does that mean? Well, it means you need to eat before you do a lot of other stuff. And if the brain is not fed, then the brain can go offline. And that could look like anxiety. That could look like a panic attack. That could look like exhaustion. Sometimes there's reasons for lots of different reasons for exhaustion, but it could be that you need to eat, right? So getting the right food in for you is important every 4 hours. And I'm not talking about a cleanse here. I'm not talking about people going and doing maybe a detox or a cleanse. That's different. But on a regular day-to-day basis, we need to eat 3 meals. And that varies a little bit depending on your body type. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But we basically need to eat 2 to 3 meals a day with protein, the 3 macros: protein, good fats, and complex carbohydrates, which are basically vegetables, fruits, mostly vegetables. And grains are in there too, for those who do okay with grains, and legumes, nuts throughout the day, right? So, and it doesn't have to be complicated. We'll have to do another show on meal planning and things like that too. But this is a real critical part, and this is part of what changed my life. So that's why I'm sometimes called a food freak, and I'm like, okay, I'm okay with that. But it was ultimately till I started changing my food and realizing the effect it was having on my anxiety, on my depression, on my substance use, that I was like, I have to learn more about this. So I did.
So I'm curious to know. So you said that you were noticing anxiety, and what were you eating or were you not eating? Was there certain foods that were affecting you that was causing more anxiety? Or tell me a little bit more about that.
Yes, yes. Well, it's more of the simple carbs, right? And yes, I was one of those eaters. Well, first of all, I didn't know how to eat. Many of us don't know how to eat, right? I mean, I didn't know. I mean, when I was in college too, and I had severe anxiety in college. Um, I was not eating during the day. I was trying to lose weight. So you don't eat. And then, you go out and you have a few beers and then you binge eat. That was my life in college pretty much. Now, um, I'm glad I was able to graduate from school with that, because my brain wasn't on. And that was when I think about it now, I just didn't think I was smart enough to be in college. It was really a struggle for me. What I realize now, after studying about the brain and nutrition, that I didn't have a fed brain. We were eating pizza, we were eating, bagels, we were eating candy, and then drinking some beer, so it's like, oh, the brain's just like, right? So the brain has to be fed protein, fat, and vegetables, and with some fruit and some other things in there too, to really, the protein, our protein is important. We need it, again, 2 to 3 times a day. That feeds our neurotransmitters that help us focus for a test,
Right.
that help relieve our anxiety, that help us sleep. And if we're not getting protein in, we're not getting the amino acids that feed our neurotransmitters.
So what are our neurotransmitters, and why can we only get that through protein?
Wait, say that again.
What are neurotransmitters, and why do we get that through protein?
So our neurotransmitters are our brain chemicals. They are serotonin, right? Dopamine, GABA, and the endorphins. Okay, the endorphins, which I also call our opiates. We call them our natural opiates. Those are our feel-good chemicals. And as you know, we have an opiate epidemic in our world, because people are going to other substances and not getting their brains fed. So a lot of us in this field believe that if people were eating well, our a lot of the addiction and mental health issues wouldn't be as high as they are right now. And part of that is the food industries, um, what the food industry has been feeding people. Because if you're not learning about nutrition, you're not learning about what protein feeds your brain and how fat's important for your neurotransmission and your hormones. I mean, you have to have fat for your hormones to flourish and be balanced. We're not learning that in school.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to go back to school and I was like, whoa, never got this in college, never got this in high school. So hopefully that's changing. But this is part of what I think should be happening in our education system. We should be teaching our children about their brain and about how magnificent their brain is and how much better it is when they're not eating Skittles.
Well, yeah, that's a whole other
I know.
too, going there and talking about the junk foods, right? Because
Oh yeah.
heard you say pizza though. Isn't pizza healthy? Why would pizza affect your brain?
Well, that's a good question, Jess, because we all love pizza, right? I mean, come on. It's just the pizza that most of the pizza we're getting out there is with a flour that has glyphosate in it, that has pest, so I'm not talking about the Domino's and all that fast food pizza. That does not feed our brain. However, you can get pizza crusts that are actually, for some people, need to be gluten-free, that are ancient grain, and you can load them up with good proteins and even good cheeses if you do good with cheese. So I haven't given up pizza. I've just given up that pizza. But so that brings me back to, like, it depends on what we're eating and how we're preparing. And part of that is getting back into our kitchen, knowing your restaurants when you do go out to eat. So does that answer your question?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
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 So
Because pizza is fun to think about, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to give up pizza. You just have to upgrade it so it actually feeds your brain and it doesn't have a bunch of garbage in it.
proteins.
Non-food, I should say, non-food.
Right. But it's food to a lot of people, right? A lot of people are not
Right.
educated on what real food is.
Correct.
And that happened to be me at one point in time too. I was giving my kids foods that I thought were real foods that were good snacks for them too, like goldfish crackers, and I changed and we were doing whole wheat bread. We were doing the whole wheat bread, but yet I didn't realize that the whole wheat bread was causing allergic reactions in my daughter.
Yes.
And so
my son.
Yeah, so it's bringing awareness, and we'll talk more in depth about food as our podcast series continues.
Mm-hmm.
I want to touch more on what you said about the proteins and the fats, because we know from the academy training that our brain is 60% fat?
I think it maybe 60 to 70.
60 to 70%.
Yeah.
So we need fats, and we need the healthy fats.
Mm-hmm.
So what are our healthy fats, Pati?
What are healthy fats? Well, so there are 4 different types of fats. There are the omega-3s, which are the most important fats. Those are the anti-inflammatory fats. Those are the ones that really help calm our system and feed our system, our brain. Fish, walnuts, flax seeds, and I would say grind them up, because you need to grind up the flax seeds if you're going to eat them. Chia seeds, hemp seeds. Oh my gosh, one of my favorites. So coming back to the show that's on Netflix, it's basically about vegan eating. And we're not taking a position here, but if you are vegan, you probably need a lot of hemp seeds because you have to work a little harder to get that fat, but mostly the protein in. But hemp seeds are one of the most incredible foods. So that has a lot of omega-3 in it, and it's got also protein. And then there's a little tiny bit of chlorophyll in the hemp seed. That's a little green spot in there. So that's one of my favorite foods. Leafy greens, believe it or not, have some omega-3s in them, right? So we want more of that category. And again, a lot of fish, walnuts, eggs. Eggs have omega-3 and also protein in them. And then we have the 6s and the 9s, and that's peanut butter, almond butter, um, sunflower butter, olive oil. Coconut oil is actually a saturated fat, but we need a little bit of saturated fat. So is butter, and so is ghee, which is actually a clarified butter that you can cook with at high heat. But we'll have to do another show on the cooking stuff. But um, yeah, I think there's probably more, but I'm just, those are some avocados. Obviously, a lot of people know about avocados. So, but I want to remind folks too that we want a lot from the omega-3 category. So get in some fish, um, especially the smaller fish like the mackerel and the sardines. I don't particularly like sardines. They're kind of fishy, but some people don't mind them. But the mackerel is actually small fish, so they have less of some of the larger fish contaminations that they might have in it. So look for them. Smaller fish, but we have a lot of wild sockeye salmon that is close by here from Alaska. So that's really nice for us here in Utah.
Mhm.
And anything that can be caught,
Yeah.
trout. But
So yeah,
so
I love that. And I love how you
Mhm.
prepare the sardines and the mackerel, how you actually use them and instead of using tuna fish. You use them like tuna
yes,
fish. So yeah.
yes.
But
We actually made a mock tuna casserole the other night. Mock it was a mackerel casserole
yum.
instead of tuna.
Yeah. Mackerel's one of
So
my new favorites because of you.
hmm hmm
Okay, let's talk about all these diet fads when
Oh, the diet fads. Yes,
because
that's how we started with.
veganism is a diet fad,
Yes.
vegetarianism is a diet fad, carnivorism is a diet fad, right? The
Mhm.
carnivore diet, the keto diet, Mediterranean diet. What are we've got so many different diets out there.
Yeah,
How do we know what diet to do? And is it okay to do a
right.
diet for an extended period of time, like any one of these? Or do we need the variety?
Well, we need variety. So our body needs variety, which is one of the harder things for lots of folks because it's like, well, I just do this every day. I do my smoothie every day, right? Because you get everything in your smoothie. So it's easy to repeat that day after day. And my feeling is if you're not, I'd rather you be eating than not eating, even if it is, you know, the same thing. Um, and I say that to a lot of clients that are starting out because they don't know what to eat. So they make a smoothie or they have some bone broth or something like that. And I think that's great. But our body does like a little variety. So I usually do the like mix it up 3 times. But let me come back to the fad stuff. So there's some good stuff. Like the Mediterranean diet has some really great stuff. And it again, we need protein, good fats, and complex carbs. But what worked for you, Jess, may be different than that works for me. So one of the things I have used in my coaching for almost 24 years, I can't believe I've been a coach for 24 years, is the blood type. And what does that mean? The blood type is looking at your blood type and looking at the proteins that work best for me. I'm blood type A. And I don't break red meat down very well. So that's not one of the proteins I pick. I pick fish or I pick tempeh. If you're an O, my children are both O, so they can have red meat here and there. So we're not um, we need to, first of all, we all need to eat more vegetables. That's one of the best things that we can do for our bodies, for sure. We're getting most of our vitamins and minerals in there, and the brain can't work. Even if you have protein coming in, you need the vitamins and minerals, and we get them from the vegetables. So we need to figure out how to get more in. We'll have to talk about that another time because we need about 7 to 9 servings a day of vegetables
Wow.
and a little bit of nuts, fruits. So I look at the blood type. Um, why that? Well, like animals, there are carnivores and there's I would say vegan animals, right? That just eat plants, right? So we need to look at what works for our body, and the blood type system is really ancestral. Blood type O's were the first people on the planet, and they were hunter gatherers, right? That's what was available. I mean, that's we wouldn't have survived if it wasn't for the buffalo and for the berries and for some of the herbs that they pick to go along to help them digest. Those were the hunter-gatherers. And yes, we've adapted from that. So those people that are blood type O, they do well with some protein that comes from animals. And animals are very sacred. No question about that. So are plants, right? So are all of us. So keeping that mindfulness about what we're eating is important too. And for sure, not supporting any of the mass meat industry out there. And that is really important. We are what we eat. So whatever plant you're eating, if it's loaded with pesticides, you're getting that. If you're eating an animal, you're getting whatever that animal ate. Both sides. If it's not in the soil, like Kathleen talks about from the plant, then you're not getting any nutrition from it.
Right.
So this comes back to the fact that we need to eat clean. We need to source out our local folks that are selling local meat, that are selling the vegetables that are grown without pesticides as much as possible. And not supporting the factory industry, because that really affects our body. And I just wanted to share this. There was a book in school called The Energetics of Food. And on the front of the cover, it had pictures of animals. Obviously, animals have faces, but then all the vegetables and fruits had faces, which I was like, well, that's weird. They don't have a face. But the whole idea was we're getting the energy of whatever we're eating. So if you're eating, unfortunately, a lot of the food that's served out there, you're picking up that energy. You're also getting the hormones, and you're getting the pesticides and herbicides. Our bodies don't want that.
Well,
Our bodies are overloaded with these extra things that your liver's trying to figure out. And it's like, So the more we can look for clean, organic, local, the better we're going to feel. And that is feeding our brain. So that feeds our neurotransmitters. So we're calmer, we're happier, we have more energy, because we're not trying to figure out, oh my gosh, there's so much coming in. My body's trying to process that. So when we're not feeling well, we're either have too much coming in, too much toxicity, or we're malnourished. We have to balance those out. We need the nutrients coming in from the clean foods, and we want to not get all those extra toxins coming in, so we feel terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, part of the reason people feel terrible is from the food they ate. And I didn't know that till I started eating cleaner. And I was like, I feel a little better.
Yeah, it makes sense when you explain it that way. I love what you said about the energetics of it too, because it is like we're frequencies, we're vibrations. And I have a friend who her dad was part of doing like the sci-fi with the military and doing these experiments. And he actually hooked up a MIDI device to plants and animals before they were harvested. And these ones that were not raised humanely or not harvested humanely let out a scream. They let out a scream. And so the ones that were taken and were raised humanely and harvested humanely with the mindfulness that we are taking a life. We're taking the life of the plant to give us life. We're taking the animal to give us life. And when they were given this meaning, there wasn't a scream. It was this beautiful silence that happened. And that can also be shifted through prayer, right? Prayer, I'm not a religious person, but prayer is beautiful. Prayer is wonderful, and it means something different to each person, right? But when we say thanks, I guess we should say gratitude. When we use the term gratitude and we're grateful for this food that's before us, we shift that energy too. And now we give meaning to it losing its life so we can have life. And,
no question.
And I want to talk more about that too, because there are some animals that chose to come here specifically to give us life. That is what their purpose is. When we think about that, we really need to be mindful of where we are taking our food.
Yes. No question about it. Yeah. The prayer is really important. We do a blessing before every meal. You just take a moment. And
What did you say the one time that you can't change? You said something one time, Patty, and it was so profound
about the prayer.
about the prayer. Yeah, can you share it?
Oh, yes, yes. And I forget who I learned this from, somebody in one of my classes years ago. When we bless our food, we can bless the negative energy out and the toxins out. And this is hearsay, right? But we cannot put the nutrients in. So if you can't put calcium back in. You can take the pesticide out. Now, that's not I'm not advocating that we go out and, buy the regular the regular non-organic food, but sometimes we're at a restaurant and sometimes we're somewhere where we can't get to our food. That's really important that we bless it. And yes, but we're not going to be able to get those nutrients back in. So that's again advocating for going organic and getting what we need from the organic farmers.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. I thought there's a couple other things I just wanted to mention about personalized food. So we look at blood type, and then we'll move on to sleep because I know we're going to go to Q&A in a little bit. But I wanted to mention Ayurveda. This is another way to personalize our food. This is what we look at through the academy. We look at blood type, Ayurveda. And what does that mean? If you haven't heard of Ayurveda, Ayurveda is an ancient style of living that originated in India. It goes alongside yoga. And what's fascinating about this way of understanding your what they call dosha, your dosha's your nature, right? And there's three doshas. There's pitta. I'm pitta. It's more fiery, heated, and there's personality things that go along with it too. So I don't do well with like spicy food. When I have spicy, like if I go to a restaurant, um, I'll make sure that I have mild. I'm like mild, no heat, because for me the heat revs up my energy, and then I'm more imbalanced. And I won't get into it too much, but I wanted our listeners to just explore Ayurveda a little bit because it helps you understand you. I also go to bed early. People are like, "Oh my God, you're in bed at 8 o'clock." I'm like, "Yeah," and I'm up at 4. I like that. That's me, And you may stay up later, Jess. So it helps you understand your nature, and it's all about balance. So when we're out of balance, you go, oh, okay, I need to eat, or I haven't had that many vegetables. So it's all about bringing your body back to balance with looking at your nature, your constitution. So I just wanted to explore that a little bit about personalized food. The last one I want to mention that I think is important for our listeners and is metabolic type. So that's where we have fast metabolizers, we have um, uh, middle metabolizers, they're like balanced metabolizers, and then we have carbohydrate metabolizers, slower metabolizers. So what does that mean? And you can all take questionnaires, and there's actually great books on it as well too. Some people need more protein and fat than others. Some people need more vegetables. So even though when I started earlier, we need protein, fats, and complex carbs, that varies depending on your metabolism and how you break food down. So I just wanted to mention that. We're not going to go into it too much more, but that's another way to look at what's best for me, personalized food. And that brings us back to this fad, like you need to check in with you and what does your body need. And those three systems help us do that. And my other thought for our listeners is listen to your body. What does your body need? Yes, it needs protein, but maybe you need to do a fast for a day and just drink vegetable juice. Ask your body what you need.
Yeah.
So
That,
I wanted to.
that's more
Mhm.
intuitive eating and the mindfulness, right?
Intuitive
Yeah.
eating, mindful
Those
eating.
whispers,
Mhm.
listening to the whispers of your body.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
we have 5 minutes until our Q&A starts, and we still need to talk about our sleep.
oh, sleep, sleep, sleep. Woo, a big one. Shall I start on that one, Jess, or do you want to?
Well, yeah, so go ahead, because I know you've struggled with sleep.
Yes.
I have got my sleep down. I'm pretty good.
Well, good for you. Okay.
But when I have,
You're a sleeper.
I did struggle. But let's hear your
Yeah.
struggles, because this has been a
Yeah.
long journey for you with.
It has been. Sleep has been a real challenge for me. Part of that is anxiety, right? So it's really for people who have anxiety or experiencing anxiety, sleep can be a challenge. And one of the reasons we don't sleep is because of anxiety. And one of the reasons we may have anxiety is low serotonin. So that's one of the neurotransmitters that we talked about earlier. So low, when we have enough serotonin, we sleep. We don't have anxiety. We're generally see the world more positively. But if you're low in that neurotransmitter, you probably will not sleep and you probably will have anxiety. And that's also panic attacks. Low serotonin is also suicide. People with low serotonin can have suicidal thoughts. I mean, it's a real deal, and we're going to talk about the neurotransmitters on another show and working with amino acid therapy, but that can also prevent you from sleeping. Sleep is so critical for us, and I know on Deepak Chopra's Pillars of Health, his number one is sleep, because that's when our brain cleans out. That's when we get that deep, deep restoration. And I've worked on it for a long, long time. Um, and so for me, looking at my serotonin, also blood sugar, if we're not eating, if our blood sugar is dropped and you haven't had enough protein throughout the day, or you haven't had, if you're fasting, you may find that your sleep is off a little bit. So if your blood sugar is low, you may not sleep that well. Hormone imbalance, adrenals. If your adrenals are off, that could be another reason you're not sleeping. So these are just some of the things to look at if you're not sleeping. And there are probably some more. Resentments. Have any resentments going out there?
Yeah.
So for some of us, we can't turn that off. And part of actually low serotonin is obsessive thoughts. So again, there's the physical part of the behavior. So that's another reason we could also be not sleeping. And sleep hygiene is really important, like getting us to a place where we're ready to go to sleep. Yes, getting in the right food, turning off the Wi-Fi. And I say this to my kids a lot, the TV too. I know people want a lot of like to relax and watch TV, and that's fine. But if you're having sleep issues, then my suggestion is the Wi-Fi's got to go off and you got to pick up a book maybe, or just listen to music. But of course, you don't want music with the Wi-Fi on your ears. So really creating a ritual where you're slowing down, and herbs. We do herbal teas, calming herbal teas to help us. And there are some aminos you can also take at night, and other medicinal herbs to help you sleep at night. Yeah. Anything else you want to add to that? I know we kind of moved it a little quick.
Hormones. Hormones is a big
Mhm.
issue, right? Especially
Yeah.
adrenal fatigue. So when we think about our adrenals being fatigued, we think that that's going to make us tired. But if our adrenals are not functioning correctly, they're going to keep us awake. And
Right.
especially cortisol, because the cortisol is affecting our adrenals. So cortisol comes because we have too much stress. Right? So we're also like going back to how important rest is, and being mindful with our rest, and that noise that you were talking about with the television, right? That's just another noise. It's just another noise. We're not really resting or breaking away from it or decompressing for the day, even though a lot of us are using it and thinking that we're tuning out what happened during the day. But maybe that's a time to journal and reflect and pause and breathe. Take a bath. Taking a bath, or even turning the temperature down on your tub, the water. Instead of taking a hot shower is going to awaken you. But if you take it cooler, a cooler shower at night, or a cooler bath at night, or even turn your temperature down to sleep at night, that's going to help your body to drop into a deeper sleep.
Oh, right. That's a good reminder about
I
that.
turn my temperature down to 68 degrees and sleep with it cooler. My temperature is anywhere from 72 to 74 during the day. But at nighttime, I turn it down. It starts like going down to 68 degrees. And if it's too hot, I'll open up a window to get some cool air in here. Turning down the lights is another. We want to stimulate what's happening with the sun and work with the circadian rhythm of the sun.
Right.
Which is when the sun starts to set, we should start darkening our home to start our mind and prepare our body for that sleep. Changing the setting on your phone so that it goes into the dark mode, so that the blue light is coming off, so that you're not the blue light anymore, because the blue light is going to stimulate your brain and keep it awake. Breathing, doing the breathing. And our Q&A is ready to start, but it looks like we don't have any callers yet, so we could actually go into that. We could do that.
Meditate breath.
Yeah, we could do the breath meditation that can help to put us in that parasympathetic state, right? Because the parasympathetic state is where we want to be when we're going to sleep. We don't want to try to get in bed if we are still in that go, 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 and our mind is like, I've got all these things that I have to do tomorrow, da, 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 da. And if you have tomorrow, you can journal about it. Like, write it down. Get it out of your mind. Get it out of your mind. Another thing, let me finish this one and then I'll go to you, Pati. But one other thing is giving yourself permission to go to sleep. Self permission to go to sleep.
I love that. I love that. When you were saying writing it down, like journaling, so I had an experience just the other night that I was having a hard time sleeping. So I had some emotional thoughts going on. And so I got up and I made myself a cup of sleepy tea. And then I did actually take some tryptophan, which is an amino acid you can use to help you sleep and calm down. So, but I journaled. So it was like being able, I call it my written therapist, you know, I was able to get it out so that it wasn't ruminating in here. I was able to write out some of the feelings I was having on paper. And I was like, wow. And then I went back to my breath. So I think it's going to be really, I'm looking forward to our final breath, sleepy breath, because that was really helpful to me. And as soon as my mind started going again, I would just come back and just focus on my breath and go into that relaxed state. And I asked for sleep help. I'm just like, okay, universe, guides, angels, whatever you want to use, God, help me sleep. I need help sleeping. I need to turn it off and I need my body to be restored. So I love that, giving yourself permission, because, you know, I didn't do that for the longest time. I'm like, well, I can handle this. I just need to go do that. And then I'm like, well, why don't I ask for help? So thank you for that reminder. And yeah, so
another thing that, so while you were talking about that, is one thing that came to my mind was we'll often look at our phones too to see what time it is, or we'll check the clock to see what time it is. And what that does to our brain, it activates it, right? And then we start to panic and we're like, oh my gosh, I've only got 1 more hour and I have to be up and I've gotten no sleep, and da 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 da. Like, our mind will start to race.
I do that.
Into those ruminating thoughts, right? And then before we know it, it's time to get up and we're like, I haven't gotten any sleep.
Yeah.
So giving yourself permission to
Mhm.
to not check the phone, not check the clocks, and just to know that when your alarm goes off, that's when it's time to get up.
Mm. Okay.
Don't
Wow.
check, don't check, don't check, don't check.
Don't check, don't check. Okay. Well, before we take any call-ins, and I think we need to say our little wait, but let's do our meditation first. Can we do that, Jess?
Yeah, let's do that.
The sleep one. So just a reminder for anyone that is listening, if you are driving right now,
Do not do this.
keep your eyes open. This may make you sleepy. We're just making sure that you know that this could be a sleep remedy right now for you. So keep your eyes open or pull to the side of the road and take a little reset break with Jessica's meditation.
Yes, please, please, please listen to what Patti said. I was thinking yoga nidra is also a really powerful practice to do before you go to sleep as well. But that's not what we're going to do today because we want our callers to come back and not fall asleep right now, or our listeners. So we'll just take. So you can do this you can do this sitting up. There's so many different ways that you can do your meditation practice. You can sit in a comfortable chair. You can lay down. You can lay on the ground, you can lay on the bed, you can sit on the bed. Just find a position that's comfortable for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the most important things when you are doing a meditation practice is finding a position that's most comfortable for you so that you can just relax into it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to sit in my chair. Patti's sitting in her chair. I'm going to place my feet firmly on the ground. I invite you to do the same and sit in a tall, upright position. You can bring your hands to your knees, or you can bring them into the Gagan Mudra, which is this one. But because we're settling down, putting your hands down on your legs is going to help you to feel more grounded. It's going to help you to feel more calm and more relaxed. And then just gently close your eyes. Close your eyes and notice your surroundings. Notice the noises around you. Notice the sound of my voice. Notice your heart. See if you can hear your heart beating. And notice your breath. Just notice how you're breathing right now. If you're breathing fast, if you're breathing slow. Noticing the cushion underneath you, the floor underneath you, whatever is supporting you. If you're lying down, maybe it's the bed that's underneath you supporting you. We'll do a quick body scan. So noticing your toes, noticing your feet, noticing your ankles, working your way up your calves in a circular motion. So from your calves to your shin, to your knees, the back of your knees, to the front of your thighs, to the back of your thighs, into your pelvis, around the front and around the back, into your lower belly, around the front and low back, and into your heart space, the front of your heart and the back of your heart. And taking a big inhale in and then exhale. And coming up to your shoulders and working your way down your arms, your upper arms, your elbows, your forearms, your wrists, and your fingers. Coming back up your arms the opposite way, wrist, forearms, elbows, upper arms, shoulders, and spiraling around the back of your neck, the front of your neck, into the back of your head, and coming up the back of your head, into your forehead, and allowing your forehead to soften, and allowing your tongue to fall away from the roof of your mouth. And gently lick your lips, and breathing in through your nose, all the way down into your abdomen. And as you exhale, you're going to purse your lips as if you're sucking out of a straw, sucking in a straw. And exhaling out your lips. And inhaling through your nose. And exhaling slowly out of your lips, letting go of your breath slowly. Focusing on that exhale. Inhaling through your nose. And exhaling slowly out of your lips, slow and controlled. And continue this breathing pattern, seeing if you can focus on your exhale and exhale for 10 seconds.
Ooh.
We'll do a couple more breaths like this. So inhaling through your nose and exhaling through those pursed lips, that little straw. Just gentle exhale. And last one, inhaling deeply and exhaling, letting go. And slowly wiggling your fingers, wiggling your toes, gently blinking, opening your eyes, licking your lips again, and back into the moment.
Well, thank you for that. I just wanted to share that before we go to Q&A. You said exhale for 10 counts, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to do that. So the first time I did it, I got to about 6. Then I got to 8 counts, and then I was able to do 10 for the last 2 breaths. So that was really, really wonderful. So thank you, Jessica.
You're welcome.
And I think we are ready for Q&A if we have any call-ins. Do you want to read our little, do we have it?
Yeah, we do need to read our disclaimer and let you know.
Our disclaimer.
Yep, that our role as a health coach is not to prescribe or assess micro and macronutrient levels, but we provide healthcare, medical, or nutritional therapy services, or to diagnose, treat, or cure any disease, condition, or other physical or mental ailment of the human body. Our goal as the coach is a mentor and guide who's been trained in holistic health coaching, and we help clients with positive, sustainable lifestyle changes. Listeners understand that we're not acting in the capacity of a doctor, licensed dietitian, psychologist, or other licensed or registered professional, and that any advice given is not meant to take the place of advice by any of your healthcare professionals. If you are under the care of a healthcare professional currently using prescription medications, then you should discuss any changes or potential supplements with your doctor, and you should not discontinue any prescription medications without consulting your doctor first. The listener also understands the information mentioned in our talks should not be seen as medical or nursing advice and is not take the place of your licensed healthcare professional.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right. Well, I think we're ready. Thank you, Jess, for doing that. We're ready for if there are any callers, we'd like to take that since we only have about 10 minutes left. So, okay.
Hey, Wellness Crusaders. I have Laurie from Indiana calling. Laurie, what is your question that you have for our Wellness Crusaders today?
Hello there. I'd like to comment that I can't even believe I had the both of you on. It was just so positive. And it's actually something that I have been wanting to do to get me to speak. So I actually have a question for Jessica based on a comment that Pati made. And then I would hope you could tell me how to get if I want to have a consult with you. Pati has, when she first started meditating, which is kind of where I am, that it seemed to give me more anxious thoughts because I was trying to quiet my mind, and I thought I would have to do 10, 15, 20 minutes, so I could never, find myself at peace. So Jessica, when somebody like me is just starting off, where do I start? A couple minutes? I mean, do I have to be perfect? And can I start off with 5 minutes and feel better?
Yeah. So that's a great question. So what I heard you say was a little bit hard to understand, but what I think I heard you say was that you're just starting off with meditation and you have anxious thoughts. It's really hard for you to sit still. So you're
Jess, could you speak a little louder? The sound is a little tricky. I don't know if there. That's a little better.
Better now?
Yes.
Okay. So what I was saying is that so I think that you were saying, Laurie, is how can you? You're a beginner for meditation. So what's the advice for your anxious thoughts, your anxious mind, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I had said earlier was we're not turning off our thoughts. We're not turning off our mind. We're choosing what thoughts we're going to interact with. And so when you first begin, you just focus on your breath. Okay, so try to only focus on your breathing and do that for 3 to 5 minutes. So you're going to inhale and you can say, I am inhaling. And as you exhale, you can say, I am exhaling. So as you're doing that, you want to continue. If you have thoughts that are rising, go back to your breath. So sounds like we're having an issue with the sound.
Yeah. It looks like the Try it again, Jess.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Okay. So when you first begin meditation, practicing for 3 to 5 minutes and just allowing your thoughts to be and not participating with them. So just watch them. Watch what your thoughts are doing. And you're going to be sitting there and you'll say, I am breathing in with each inhale. And as you exhale, you'll say, I am breathing out.
I love that.
And this is going to help to calm that mind so that you're not rushing away with those thoughts. If the thoughts do come, allow them to be, and you can label them. You can say thinking, or you can say thought. And then you come back to your breath and you say, I am breathing in.
Oh, I like that.
Breathing out. But you can also imagine little bubbles, like your thoughts as little bubbles, and you popping them. So you pop that thought, and then you come back to your breath. So I am breathing in. I am breathing in. And just trying that.
I like that.
Does that help?
Okay. Oh my gosh, that really helped. I'm actually going to try it tomorrow morning, so thank you very much. And how do I get a hold of you if I want to do like a consult with both of you?
Yeah, so you can go to our website, which is thewellnesscrusaders.com, and at the very bottom there's a form you can fill out. You can send your email that way, or you can send an email to info@thewellnesscrusaders.com. Patti does have Patti.
Okay, perfect.
Patti has her Plate Up class that's coming up, and I also have my mindfulness challenge, the 6-week mindfulness challenge that will be starting in February.
Yes, and we'll have that on our website. We'll have that posted on our website. You can also find all of our links to the Crusaders on the website, and you can directly connect with us that way as well, Laurie, if that's helpful.
Okay, and because I live in Indiana, is it possible to do this remotely? I don't necessarily have to come to Utah, right?
No, you can do it. We do it through Zoom. Yeah, the next best thing to being in person, Laurie.
Oh my gosh, that's magnificent. Well, thank you both very much. You touched on 2 really important subjects for me to start off my new year. So thank you, and thank you for that, the mindfulness training at the very end. It was really good to walk through that. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening.
You're welcome. Happy New Year, Laurie.
Yep, and thank you for calling in, Laurie. Please make sure to check in with us again next week at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and you have a wonderful day. All right, looks like we have another caller calling. Let me bring them up. Hey, Terry, you are on with the Wellness Crusaders. What question do you have for our 2 Crusaders today?
Hi, I was hoping you could dive a little deeper into the notion of mindfulness around food and just the construction of your whole lifestyle around that, being mindful of the sourcing, not only of what the quality of the food that you're getting, but where it's coming from, and building community in the process.
Well, Terry, that's a great question. I'm going to start, and then I'm going to let Jessica add her 2 cents to this. I think one of the first things you could do in terms of, the mindfulness is just obviously breathing and being present during your eating process, but also when you are sourcing food. And it's really interesting that you brought this question up, because I know for me, when I start sourcing food and I look at like, oh my gosh, they have this and that, and they have this and this, my peace kind of goes away a little bit. So bringing a mindfulness into like, okay, I'm going to do the best I can to find the most local food. And I would start with your farmer's market. I'm not sure where you are, but I'm sure there's a farmer's market. I know here in Salt Lake City, there's a winter market too that you could probably attend to. So I would say that, and then know your stores, and shop at the more local stores. Obviously, we don't want to shop at some of the bigger stores, but more of the local stores to find your, organic produce. And again, the organic meats, you'll probably do better with the farmer's market or more local folks. And I don't know if Jessica wants to add anything to that. Probably so.
Yeah, no, I think that's great advice. And also when you're at the stores, like looking for grass-fed beef, grass-fed pasture-raised, cage-free eggs. So just really checking out your packaging and looking to see like the organic label. Organic is going to be better. Non-GMO is going to be better. But definitely trying to purchase locally first. Sprouts is a great place. It's a great grocery store. I know that Harmon's even has some good clean produce, right? So I haven't been to Smith's for a long time, so I wouldn't even know. But when you're shopping too, you also want to shop the perimeters of the stores and avoid the middle aisles, because the middle aisles are the boxed ones. They're full of the crap. Right? So shopping the outside, the perimeters of the stores is going to be a better bet for you as well.
I would also add, Terry, that going shopping, if you do go shopping, again, being mindful about where you are and just being present with the shopping experience and not being hungry. One of the things that I know, if I go to the store hungry, I'm going to likely want to eat something maybe that's quick and easy there. So that's another idea, is to make sure that you're not so hungry when you go shopping. And that you bring in that mindfulness. I know for me, shopping can be stressful. I remember actually when I had anxiety, it was really difficult for me to go shopping. I didn't know what to pick. So also making a list before you go is helpful, thinking about what you want to make for the next few days, and having a list, and then bringing that with you. Hope that helps.
That does. Well, thank you very much, and thank you for the show. This is great.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Terry. Happy New Year.
Yep, thanks for calling in, Terry. You have a wonderful night, and please make sure you check in with us again next week at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We will be interviewing Dr. Fleming on the cold, flu, COVID virus, and we'd love to have you back. You have a wonderful day.
All right, thank you. You too.
Okay.
All right, it looks like we have one more caller, lady. Let me see if I can bring them up. All right, we have Brenda calling. Brenda, what question do you have for our Wellness Crusaders?
Hi there. I was just listening, and I heard one of the ladies talk about a 5-star diet that I could do online. What is that about?
Oh, hi, Brenda. It's called the 5-star personalized pro recovery diet. And that's basically looking at what we talked about today, looking at the protein, fats, complex carbs, and then personalizing it for you and creating meal plans. The best way to take a peek at that is either you could join the Academy for Addiction and Mental Health Nutrition. They have a training coming up I think it's within a couple weeks. So if you can email me or Jessica, or you could just email us at the Wellness Crusaders site. And I also have a plate up class coming up. So that covers the 5-star diet too, which is basically, again, looking at, what works best for you with your personal body type. Is that helpful?
Oh, that's perfect, and it doesn't matter where I live, correct?
No, it's on Zoom as well, Brenda.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Happy eating and Happy New Year.
Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you, Brenda, for calling in, and please make sure to check in next week at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time for our interview with Dr. Fleming, where we'll be talking about certain viruses like the cold, flu, RSV, and COVID. And you have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, DJ Flyboy. Well, I think that's it for us, Jess. I think that's a show. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So beautiful. Working with you, Patti. I just love you so much.
Yeah, I love you too. And thank you for and anybody that's listened in. We hope you got some good nuggets and some tips for taking care of yourself, because you are worth it. And the more we take care of ourselves and our planet, the more we will feel better and we will heal. So again, info@wellnesscrusaders.com. You can reach us there. And we look forward to seeing you next week.
So it's actually info@thewellnesscrusaders.com.
Oh, okay. It's info@the. So the is missing on that. We'll have to change that up. Well, we're learning as we go. So, okay, everybody, have a lovely night. Make a beautiful dinner for yourself and bless it, and stay in gratitude.
Much love.
Okay.